HR supply chain, highlighting and showcasing solutions for the most complex challenges facing the industry in 21st century by our team of subject matter experts and mentors. Broadcasting every week, all year round, we will present the most up-to-date series of podcasts and webinars.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Bicara Supply Chain. This is Nur Hadi house, and today we got a special guest, Zsofia. She is a supply chain expert and circular economy ambassador. Thank you for joining us, Zsofia. It's great to have you on the show.
Very nice to meet you, Nur Hadi, and I'm happy to be here and share, any of my insights that I gathered during the last 20 years. So amazing that you do this show, and happy to be part of it and provide value for your audience.
All right. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about collaboration in circular supply chain. So, Zsofia, to start off the discussion, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your professional background?
Absolutely. I guess, the best way to put it is, for me, circular supply chains are not something new or not even remotely new. I started educating myself and picking up this subject 25 odd years ago, when I was still a teenager, from my mother, when she did her second master's degree in regenerative agricultures and the relevant supply chains in food agriculture as such. So it's not the animal agriculture side, but the food agriculture side. And there I took an interest, in those books, and that's where it started, and that's where, all took flight from. And in the meantime, I just had to put a couple of these aspects to the side. Basically, the majority of the supply chains were not interested in the circular economy concept or even sustainability for a long time, but let's not jump the gun that far. So from a professional perspective, how I got here, I started working, from the bottom of the organization up to director level roles, which meant that I started really in the trenches, learned everything from scratch and from the bottom up. And that's how I built my knowledge, from operations to project management, program management, and finally strategic management of both personnel and program management for bigger organizations. But of course, there's always, that angle in the background. You can always use your lean tools to move organizations closer to, a sustainable status. So that's what I always tried in the background to drive the programs and the projects that I got trusted with. And of course, in the meantime, to increase, my knowledge and to get a broader view of what I was doing, I moved from industry to consulting, so I could, see the picture from an external perspective as well, and those elements. So all of the industries I've worked in, FMCG, CPG, pharma, biotech, and medtech, all of these industries can be covered from both sides, and then there's merit, to see the big picture. So that's how I got here, and now I'm doing my little company, and there I simply do, supply chain consulting and try to get the right type and the right level of support for companies to become sustainable and eventually in the end circular. That's why we are here as well.
Yeah, interesting. Zsofia, in your personal view, what are future trends in circular supply chains?
There is a lot going on, but I can say there are a couple of distinctive elements that we are seeing, as part of the toolbox of how circular supply chains can operate and how we can change how supply chains operate, or simply as part of, the manufacturing side of supply chain where we can do a lot. So as I believe most of your audience know by now, circular supply chains really start at the design, right? So we need to design out waste, and we need to design products and services in a way that that they become circular, so we can use them longer, and even after using longer, we can regenerate the materials that we used for the whole life of the product or the service, and therefore that can go back into providing material for new products and services, right? So that's critical. And there, you know, the main trends that I see becoming really solid in the last few years is really turning waste into value, right? So going through your whole value chain and identifying where the waste could not get engineered or designed out, but that waste can be valuable for someone else, right? So that will be one of those key things that will provide us further opportunities to become circular. And that's what will also drive, you know, greater collaboration between companies in the future. It started already, but, you know, it needs to gain momentum. The other one that I see being not particularly a circular supply chain trend, but something that would fundamentally underpin, you know, all the activities is transparency. And for that, we need digitalization, right, to make sure that those complexity elements that we build into our supply chains become transparent for both those who are managing the supply chain and making the decisions, but also for those who are actually the recipient of the products, so they can trust the company, right? And last but not least, you know, it's critical to slow and shorten the value chains. It doesn't necessarily mean that you would, you know, I know this is one of the pet peeves of many people, and this is being talked a lot about, you know, how we reshore, you know, certain things from Asia back to Europe or the US. That's not what it would mean, right? What it would mean is really to place the right supply chains to the right region. So for me, that's more about, you know, making sense of the right size of the supply chain and not necessarily shortening it to a point which doesn't make sense, right? So these are the key things. Of course, I could mention a couple of other elements, like, you know, sharing economy business models or 3D printing for prototyping and scenario modeling that can give us better insights into the full life cycle of the product or the service, and where we can slip off, you know, from the circular path in the design, right, up front. But these are those, you know, these top 5 really, these are the ones that will characterize the next couple of years. Of course, I could mention many other, but these are the ones that will definitely stick and provide us value.
All right. Many experts say that collaboration is one of the key pillars of the circular economy and circular supply chains, right? So what is your opinion on this topic?
It is absolutely correct. So none of these that I mentioned so far, you know, the key pillars that I see unfolding, these cannot happen without collaboration between the different partners, right? Of course, you know, competition will be there, but as soon as we manage to redefine, you know, what economic value means to us beyond monetary value, right? So from a social and ecological perspective, that's what circular economy is all about, to make sure that we balance these 3 elements, social, ecological, and economical value creation. And when these 3 parts are balanced, we get a different picture in terms of how we can make it happen. And there, companies will need to start collaborating. It's critical. If we don't learn how to collaborate, we will not gonna make this ever happen, whether we like it or not.
Yeah. And what kind of relationships, what kind of collaboration practices enable creation of these circular flows?
I would say, you know, we don't need to go too far from what we should have been doing already, right? So if I take a look at, you know, the different partners and different suppliers or customers that we have in our linear supply chains, right, at the moment. For me, the critical difference is to make sure that all of the partners we work with are being considered as an equal partner. So previously we had, practices and methods where, if a company was in a power position, they were, let's say it straight, they were exploiting, some of their suppliers or even some of their customers and vice versa. And that's what we need to, learn to ensure that partnership will be beneficial for both parties on all the three different pillars that we mentioned: social, ecological, and economical perspective. So there, the collaboration and the methods of collaboration will get greater and deeper. So there, the elements that we need to build into the collaboration will go far greater and far deeper into the relationship than before, right? So there we also address or touch topics that are not only legal matter or legislative elements of a partnership or a contract, but also ethical elements that will provide us value on the social and an ecological axis of this equation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And can you also please provide a few examples how it works, Zsofia, maybe from your past experience when you handle a project?
Well, I would say, the best projects I could showcase for you or share with you would be two startups that I helped, to become, sustainable and circular from the get-go. So there, I would say the best is to take an approach where either a bigger company takes a look at their whole value chain, or just a pilot of one of their value chains, and treat it as if it was a startup. Meaning that, think through really from A to Z, from one end to the value chain to the other, applying, the circular economy principles. Just think through, where they have waste and where they can increase the collaboration, where they need to change the principles, how they operate, and how that value can be translated into ecological and social gains as well, right? So that's where I would say building up those two, value chains for a medtech company and a cosmeceutical company was critical for me to, to see that this can be done. But I could give you, other examples that I didn't have anything to do with, but are great examples for everybody to start with. I don't know if you know the company Fairphone. They are a European company, and they changed the whole value chain and how mobile phones should be produced. And I believe many of the audience, they know them. But I could name, at least 50 other companies. I'm following companies quite closely who are doing this well. But, this is something that I would say it's not impossible for big corporations. They just need to dissect, one element or one value chain from their total operation and see and go through that value chain exercise, which is not merely just a lean exercise, but quite close to it. It's just where you place the value and how you define the value. That's where the difference comes from, right? And that's where the likes of Deborah or myself can help to make the company see, where that value is and how they can build on that value and how they can build on collaboration with even companies that they haven't ever thought that they might collaborate with.
Yeah, awesome. All right, Zsofia, I actually still have a couple of questions, but we are running out of time. But before we close our conversation, do you have any other key takeaways that you would like to share with our audiences?
I think what's most important is for every supply chain professional, if you haven't had the opportunity to get yourself educated, then please visit Nur Hadi or anywhere else, where you got your supply chain education, and then please update it and get circular economy and sustainability basics in your skills, and make sure that you start doing yourself everything you can also from the bottom up, right? Yeah. So people think that it's not possible to do at least a little. Every little counts. We are really running out of time. I believe most of us have seen the recent reports from IPCC as well on how we managed to destroy the planet as humanity. That is an eye-opening report. I recommend everyone to read it, and that will really induce everyone to take action, and not only tomorrow but even today. I can share the report with you if you would like to, Nur Hadi. Thank you so much.
Cool. All right, Zsofia, once again, thank you so much for joining us today, and look forward to speaking with you at another time. See you. Bye for now.
At Bichara Supply Chain, we are committed to driving global perspective to embrace technological adaptation in improving process efficiencies. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share Bichara Supply Chain. And stay tuned for the latest updates. To learn more, visit our website www.bicharasupplychain.com. Thank you for listening to us. We look forward to seeing you at our next episode.